Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. We're here at IslamInSpanish 2019 in Houston, Texas. We got Brother Isa here, the Education Director at IslamInSpanish, and I have a very sensitive, important question that I want to ask him due to the experiences that I've seen, and I know that a lot of Latinas have seen, and Latinos being Muslim, being converts in America. The question is, in my experience of the convert community, we have a lot of Latinos and Latinas that come to us and they are saying, oh, so-and-so is interested in us, from the Desi community, from the Arab community. And we're used to hearing this, and a lot of times people don't understand is that sometimes they only look at the Hispanic brothers and sisters for marital reasons.
Right.
And then, there's a lot of illegitimacy and a lot of things that are not being taken into consideration from the average brown Muslim side and from the Latina sister brother side. So what is your opinions, your input about this looking into the Hispanic community for marriage?
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalam ala rasulillah. So it's a very good question, and it's something that myself and Brother Mujahid, others who have had the opportunity to go on the minbar, give talks about this, because we are sometimes the voice for the Latino Muslims in the States especially. And my little sister, I'll give you an example. When she first became Muslim, alhamdulillah, back in 2010, almost a week in, so when are you going to get married? Right? Are you married? When are you going to get married? Right? So I'm in Medina, and she's asking me these questions about why am I always being asked, am I married or not? So what I started to understand was that some Muslims mean well, meaning that they feel that if a sister or a brother gets married early, they have this understanding that a convert will easily go back to their old ways, which is a major misconception. Sure. A lot of us, when we come into Islam, we came into it because we studied it, we reflected upon it, we knew it wasn't going to be an easy change, right? So we don't think about, okay, I've become Muslim and then 2 weeks later I got to be married, or I got to worry about my environment. I mean, to a degree, yes, but a lot of times, like I said, the community thinks that we have to almost insulate them because they're just going to run off and go wild,
right?
Which is a misconception. So a way that many of our brothers and sisters get caught up in the community this way is by people pushing they need to get married. And I can't tell you how many times I receive phone calls from some brothers, but mostly sisters, all around the States and Latin America and all over the Arab and not really the South Asian community world, but mostly the Arab world or African continent, where I'm getting calls about, I've been Muslim for a year, I got married 6 months in, and I'm in this foreign country. Or I'm almost entrapped, insulated into having to be something that I'm not. So I think it's important that the Muslim community know that, first and foremost, it's very important that, setting up any type of support system within the community is important. People underestimate just that brotherly, sisterly, vibe and love and care is so important. It doesn't matter if you're not from that person's background. Just you being there, being to advise, or just being, someone, just I could put my, hand on and start on your shoulder and be like, man, I need some assistance. Can you listen to me? Yeah. Some advice. A lot of times we underestimate that. And the majority of our mentors were not converts. We're not, people who grew up in the hood, right? It was people who, mashallah, we would never thought of mixing with them before Islam, but they have something, mashallah, that they really gave us, and that was a lot of stability and a lot of, care again. So I think people underestimate that. So I think that it's important that we realize that if I, as a Latino, try to come, for example, to your, let's say, uncle, and just be like, listen, I want to marry your daughter. It's not going to happen that way. I can't just, just go, not even going to him, just going to the side and talking to her like it's all good. Sure. A lot of time, our community doesn't understand even the importance of having a sister have her wali, right? Having her guardian or her advisor to be there, to be able to make sure that there's no brothers who have bad intentions. Because a lot of times, the very thing that I wouldn't be allowed to do to someone who's from the Arab background or, say, Muslim background, they wouldn't let me just go in there and be like, oh, I want to marry your daughter. Why is it that this sister is less than our average sister? And I've said this on the minbar, and I've been very blunt about it. And a lot of times you can see how uncomfortable the community gets because it's a reality. And you know, a lot
double
of
standard.
Yeah, no doubt, it is a double standard. It's like I could not sit there and do that. And I gave my sisters an example because my brother-in-law, who is Pakistani, he had to learn that he wasn't just going to sit there and just try to talk to my sister on the side like that. He was going to do it just like if he was going to speak to someone from Karachi, right? So he had to approach it the same way. And then when I sat with his family, I let them know that her name is Evelyn, right? Her name is Evelyn. She doesn't want to change her name, and if he wanted to marry somebody from back home, he would have done that.
Right.
Meaning that he's going to marry someone from Alief, Houston, Texas, Salvadoran. That's who he's marrying. So he can't expect anything from other than that.
Yeah.
And of course, we let my sister know as well, and that's something important that people don't do. I let my sister talk to one of my mentors who is Pakistani. I said, listen, talk to my sister, give her some insight to what she might be expecting, so that she won't be shocked. And it did help her in the first 2 years of marriage because, you guys are newlyweds, the first year is challenging, right? You're learning to get to know one another. So imagine with family and different cultures. So it's workable. It's something that it could be done. But again, if we don't have mentors for these brothers and sisters, just to have them grow in iman, right? Grow in knowledge and let them know how to implement Islam in their daily life. Why am I going to put them down and force them to be with a brother or a sister who may not be able to know how to really handle their situation?
SubhanAllah. So real quick advice to the Latino or Latina that is interested in someone that is not Hispanic, that is from the majority of the Muslim community, and then advice to someone from the majority of the Muslim community interested in a Latino or Latino.
Number one, I always tell people, if a brother or a sister comes to you and they're interested in talking, about marriage or they just want to get to know you, forget even marriage, they want to get to know you, bring up the issue of the wali. Either who's your wali, if it's a brother, like who's your wali sister? Because if she's playing like I just want to get to know you, no, don't involve my dad or my brother, then they're playing games.
Yeah.
And vice versa. If the brother's like, hey, I want to get to know you, and she's like, all right, my wali is so and so, whoever it may be, most likely be an imam or most likely she doesn't have Muslim family members. If he's like, no, girl, I just want to get to know you, again, that's game. So be very aware of knowing before even trying to get into marriage. Know, the conditions of marriage. It's very important to know that. And for our, general community, again, I can't emphasize enough, just especially if you're going to be one who wants to be interested in someone from another culture, that you must understand you are going to be a representative of Islam to our non-Muslim family members. I told that to my brother-in-law. I said, no matter how, yes, Muslims are not perfect, but we get it. Islam is perfect. But a non-Muslim, when they view it that way, they're looking at you and how you act. So be aware that you have to uphold these morals and values of Islam. If not, they might have a negative viewpoint of it. So it's a responsibility.
That's a huge consideration I did not think about. You have to have that kind of bit of that da'i role, even
even if it's not verbal, it's character. Like my son-in-law or my daughter-in-law, they respect me, and they allow me to be. They're not too preachy, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
They're not pushy or anything like that, or they don't tell my son or daughter to ignore their non-Muslim family. That goes a long way, in having that connection with family.
Well, Jazakallah khairan, Brother Isa. They're building the new Islam in Spanish building here in Houston, so inshallah we'll put a link out for the donation because we're almost done, but we're really excited for it. Inshallah, you continue your work and helping out the Hispanic community. Inshallah, Jazakallah khairan. Assalamu alaikum. We'll see you next time here in Ummah. Assalamu alaikum everyone. If you enjoyed this video, then please like, follow, and subscribe to our channel so that we can bring more content for you to share with your family and friends.